The Monetary Policy Committee met yesterday and decided to leave the repo rate unchanged at 6.75%. At this level, the committee feels this is an appropriate level to continue supporting domestic economic growth, while at the same time maintaining the peg between the South African rand and the Namibian dollar. The economic activities globally and domestic economic conditions that underpin this decision are as follows. At the global front, nothing much has changed since our last meeting. The momentum that we have talked about at the last meeting in the global economy, the momentum in the recovery that we have talked about is still continuing in both advanced countries as well as what is called the emerging and developing countries. In the advanced countries, it's particularly led by countries such as the US, the United States of America, as well as the Euro area. These are the leading countries as far as growth in the world economy is concerned. But as we said before, in emerging market countries as well, the growth is also picking up, particularly in countries that were registering negative growth rates in the past, especially the BRICS countries, or some of the BRICS countries, notably Brazil. And as we know, Brazil has been in negative territories for quite a considerable period of time. There was no growth in the economy. In fact, the growth was negative. The economy was shrinking. It has now entered into positive territories where they are showing positive numbers in their economic growth. The same applies to Russia. It has a growth also has turned positive in Russia. And these countries are supporting other BRICS countries such as China, India, that have continued to grow in the past few years. So when it comes to our neighboring countries, South Africa and Angola, these are one of our important trading partners. We are also seeing some positive numbers for this year. There's an expectation that Angola will grow better than last year, although growth is still going to be low, but it's going to be better than in the previous year. South Africa also released their growth numbers lately, and again, we have continued to see a positive picture there. Growth continues to be positive, although still low. So this is not time to celebrate what is happening in South Africa, what is happening in Angola in terms of their growth rates. So we still want to see the recovery that we are seeing, the strengthening, becoming stronger. So that's at the global front and at the regional front. Coming back home, we have, as we said before, we have continued to see weakness in the economy. In fact, we have more information now that tells us that in some of those sectors where we believe that the economy is not performing well, the contractions are deeper than what we expected. So notably, we have talked about retail and wholesale sector before. We have talked about construction. So we see deeper contraction in these sectors than what we have seen before at our previous monetary policy conference, or what we have told you at our previous monetary policy conference. But of course, there is a silver lining in this whole picture. Sectors such as mining, for instance, are continuing to increase their momentum. The momentum is becoming stronger in mining, particularly diamond mining. We see stronger growth there. Zinc production, we see stronger growth there. So that's one. The second one is agriculture. Again, the blessing that we receive of good rainfalls, it's helping to boost production in the agricultural sector. So that's something positive. And thirdly, tourism is continuing to strengthen, and that is also contributing to the positive picture that we seeing from those three sectors. But overall, as I said, growth remains weak in the Namibian economy for 2017. What is pleasing, again, coming back to the global economy and how it's connected to Namibia, we're seeing, with the global economy improving, we're seeing commodity prices improving. In a number of the commodities that we produce, copper, zinc, we see prices increasing significantly, which is a positive message for Namibia, because if the prices are increasing, it means we are going to get more foreign exchange for the goods that we sell to outsiders. It means that some of the mines that are under care and maintenance, probably and hopefully soon, some of those mines will start production. And also, for the mining projects that are in the pipeline, we'll probably see some coming on stream once the construction phase is over, because prices have now recovered and continue to improve. We are a bit concerned about one commodity, though, which is the uranium side, the uranium sector, where the price of uranium has remained quite low. And as you know, that Namibia is a significant uranium producer, and therefore that's a risk going forward if the price of uranium does not improve. But overall, mining prospects for mining look better, especially if you exclude uranium production. So when it comes to inflation, the trend is the same. As we have told you before at our previous conference, that inflation is falling. If you look at the number for October, standing at 5.2, if you compare that to a peak where we were in January, beginning of the year, 8.2, you can see a significant decline in inflation, which is a good development. If you take the average for the last 10 months of this year, standing at 6.4 compared to 6.5, 6.6 in the corresponding period of last year. So if you take these two averages, again, you can see a decline in inflation, which is a positive development. When it comes to domestic credit or private sector credit, is again the picture that we have told you before is continuing. The growth in private sector credit is falling. If you take the average for the last 10 months, again, standing at 7% compared to where we were before in 2016, 11.8. So we can again see a downward trend in private sector credit. And this can be seen in both credit going to the private sector and credit going to households, you and me. And unfortunately, as I said before, for the business sectors, we want the business sector to take advantage of this low interest rate environment to invest, increase their productive capacity so that they can start to supply goods and services to this economy. And they should not wait until the economy starts growing aggressively, because the economy will grow. This is the time to invest so that when the economy starts to grow, they can actually benefit from that situation. In fact, there are already opportunities, even if the economic growth is still a bit low. There are already opportunities because we continue to import a lot of goods from outside. So if we can replace some of those goods with domestic production, consume those goods inside Namibia and also sell to the rest of the world, we will improve the growth in this economy and increase employment creation in this economy. That's for businesses. For us, the household, I know this is the festive season. We all want to spend. Our message is that we shouldn't spend as if there is no tomorrow. There will be tomorrow. There will be January. So this is time to save. So put some money aside. There will still be some school uniforms to be bought next year. So that's a message that I would like you to convey to the households. I know households' debt is already high, and therefore piling yourself up with debt is not going to help you, and it's not going to help the Namibian economy. So this is time to save, not time for spending. And if we continue doing that, if we only buy the necessary things that we need, we will help ourselves, and we will also help to reduce the goods and services that we buy from outside, and that will bring down our imports, and that will improve our foreign exchange. Now, talking about foreign exchange, I know that's something that you always want to know about. The foreign exchange of the country remain healthy. If you look at the latest numbers, we're still standing at about 5.1 months of import cover, which is still healthy, but it means that we still need to work hard, because some of these reserves that we have is reserves that came from our borrowing from outside, and then therefore it's not because we have sold more goods to outsiders than we bought goods from outsiders. So it's still borrowed. Some of it is still borrowed reserves, and therefore we need to work hard to close the gap. As I said before, to close the gap between our exports and our imports. We want to sell more goods outside, more export outside, so that we can increase reserves of the country in a healthy and sustainable manner. So, in essence, that's the summary of the economic conditions that explain the decision of the Monetary Policy Committee, which is to keep the repo rate unchanged. Thank you very much.
Any comments on the ANC elective conference? How closely is Namibia watching this? Any preferred outcome? And I'm probably pushing it with that in terms of Cyril or Dlamini Zuma, as Mr. Ramaphosa seems to be more RAND positive.
We have learned that Namibia was blacklisted by the EU, supposed to be a tax haven. My question is, did you know about, what is your reaction or your statement on this decision?
With the Angolan economy improving, what do you attribute this to?
Mr. Kisting, I think, of course, you have asked a very difficult question. So that's it's not really a monetary policy question. So I don't think I'm qualified to talk about the outcome of the conference. Suffice to say that South Africa is a significant trading partner for Namibia, and therefore Namibia will want to see stability in South Africa. Namibia will want to see that economy growing faster. And therefore we believe that Congress should produce an outcome which is going to maintain stability in South Africa, so that the two nations will continue to grow and will continue to create the necessary employment that we need in both economies. The blacklisting, Stefan, it's something that I have read in the media. It's not something that I have information on. I believe the Minister of Finance will be the competent person to talk about it. So I don't really have much information on that particular issue. Angola, Maggie, I think a number of things. One, the oil price have recovered. If you compare where we were in 2016 at the beginning, oil prices were standing in the region, sometimes hovering around about 30, and at some points went to 25 US dollar a barrel. Now it's hovering in the region of about 60, 62, between 60 and 50, which is a significant difference from where we were at the beginning of 2016 and 2015. So that, of course, that will help to create more revenue for the Angolan government. It helps to create more foreign exchange for the economy, and therefore it's supportive of economic activities in Angola. And I believe there are also some reforms that the Angolan government is undertaking, so that is also going to help to boost economic activities. But as I said, it's still early days. We shouldn't celebrate. We will hope to see more stronger growth in Angola, so that, again, we can trade as before, so that the two economies can benefit from these improved economic activities in Angola. They buy our goods, we buy some things from them, and that will be, these forces will be reinforcing itself for the benefit of both economies.
Previously, in our last meeting, you indicated the fact that you are pleased with the fact that there's been a slowdown in private sector credit extension to households, and you indicated that we should be seeing this credit going more to the business people because we want to grow the economy. But recent statistics coming from the bank shows that there's been a slowdown in the uptake of credit from businesses. Isn't it quite disconcerting for you? And is it indicative of a private sector or a business sector that is experiencing economic troubles, or maybe because there's just uncertainty in the economy?
Should Moody's downgrade South Africa's rand-denominated debt, it would imply that 90%, which is 90% of the debt stock, would have to be sold off. Does it impact us at all? Are we worried about that?
Yes, slowdown in business credit is. In my statement, I expressed concern and encouraged the business sector to borrow so that they can help to support economic activities. Yes, we're concerned that businesses are not taking advantage of this situation. But it doesn't mean that there is uncertainty in the economy. I mean, we still see some businesses expanding their activities. We see some private sector constructing offices. It may also mean that some of these investments are actually financed by their own savings. So it's not always about borrowing. So you mustn't always look at it. When there's no borrowing from the business side, then it means there are no activities. In fact, a healthy way of supporting your investment is to use your own savings. When during good times you accumulate savings, you make profit, and you park some of the profit aside, or you put some of the profit aside, so that when you need to redeploy this profit, reinvest this profit, you can do that, and that's what we are seeing. And the second thing is also that we are coming from an era where there was aggressive borrowing, both from the private sector, I mean, from the businesses as well as from the households. It's not that we are saying there's no credit yet. I mean, there's no growth in credit. It is there. It's just not 12% or 15% that we have seen before. So credit is still growing. It's growing in the region of 5%. Yeah. So that's what we need. That's what we need to understand, that there's still growth in credit. So in other words, if you compare the money that has been lent to the private sector, to the business sector in January, to where we are now, there is an increase. You will see an increase. It's just that the speed of growth has actually come down. So there's still some growth. But our encouragement, of course, is that where they see opportunities, they must borrow, combination of their own borrowing and their own savings, so that they can invest and support economic activities. So that's what we're trying to say there. And again, our message is again the same: borrow responsibly and invest in economic activities. Downgrades, I don't think there's anybody who likes to be downgraded. If you are a student and you are told that you were an A student before, now you are a B student, you will always feel bad. That's one. Secondly, is that any sign of stress in South Africa is always something that we will be concerned about, because the two economies are interlinked with each other. Whether there will be a sell-off of debt, of South African debt, and how that is going to impact on us, it could be there. But we have actually seen, after the downgrade, the rand has actually, because that's one of the channels of where you will see some signs of stress is when when the currency is weakening. Of late, we have actually seen the rand strengthening. At the beginning, we saw some weakness in the rand, but I think that trend has reversed, and the rand is actually becoming a bit stronger, which is something that we welcome. But whether it's going to have a serious impact on Namibian debt, I doubt. Although Namibian debt is in rand, the channel of stress will be the exchange rate, but that exchange rate is fixed. Yeah, so we will still continue to pay in a currency where the link between the Namibian dollar and that currency is fixed. It's not changing, and therefore that debt is not becoming expensive. If that debt was if that exchange rate was not fixed, that debt would have probably become expensive. The rand was weakening, but first of all, the rand is not weakening. Secondly, the exchange rate between the Namibian dollar and the rand is fixed, and therefore it doesn't really impact much on Namibia rand-denominated rand, because I think that's what I'm hearing you saying, that what's the impact on Namibia rand-denominated debt. That part is not changing.
But if the rand nosedives in February, should there be a downgrade, then it will impact on the Namibian dollar too, from that perspective.
Yes, you're right. It will impact on the Namibian dollar because the Namibian dollar will also become weaker. The debt which is denominated in other currencies will become more expensive. So that will be the channel. But that is if the rand weakens. Not the Namibian dollar denominated rand. I mean the rand denominated Namibian debt. Yeah, that will remain the same.
When you go to South Africa, you don't get one-to-one. But here they get it one-to-one. Ask anybody who travels to South Africa. You go to the bank. In fact, many institutions, they refuse your money. Others will give you 11% less.
My brother, I have heard people complaining about the same issue. Maybe one will have to explain the context. When you want rents here, you will get it. Why? Because the rent is a legal tender here. So Namibia, by choice, decided that if you come here with your rent, it will be a legal currency. And when you are in South Africa, it's not the same situation. The Namibian dollar is not a legal currency in South Africa. It's just like any other foreign currency. So when you go there, you will have to be charged a commission. When you come here with your rent, banks will not charge you a commission because it's a legal currency. Just like it is treated as if it's a Namibian, it's given the same status as a Namibian dollar. Not the same in South Africa. The Namibian dollar is not given the same status as a rand in South Africa. So that's one. The second thing is that because the rand is a legal currency here, Namibia gets compensated for that. And because we get compensated for that, we have a legal obligation to collect all the rand notes and coins that are here and ship it back to their country at cost, and we absorb that cost. Yeah? We absorb the cost because we get compensation by South Africa. If you look at our financial statements, you will see rand compensation, which always averages in the region of 250 million, 300 million a year. In South Africa, there is no arrangement like that because the Namibian dollar is not a legal tender. And therefore, if you go there with Namibian dollar, so if anybody accepts your Namibian dollar, they will have to take that responsibility to bring it back here because the Namibia dollar is only used here. It cannot be used in South Africa. So it has to come back here because that's where it's used. And therefore, it will involve transport cost of bringing that money here. And therefore, the commission you are charged is also partly to defray that transport cost to bring the Namibian dollar here. And hence, the commission that you pay there. In fact, they have a choice because they are not forced by anybody to accept that currency. Here, they will be forced. Anybody, and you go there, you go to any shop, you go to any bank, you want rent, they are forced to give it to you because it's a legal currency. There is not a legal currency. I hope you understand the context.